Hello out there. We are officially live here from Tau Kappa Epsilon International Headquarters, the Donald R. Tapia Tau Kappa Epsilon International Headquarters. Sorry, Don. We're excited to be here with you today to talk about all of our programs that we put on in Tau Kappa Epsilon. My name is Alex Swenson. I'm the Director of Education for the fraternity, so my chief role within the organization is to plan and execute our programs. Alongside me, Chief Executive Officer Donnie Aldrich, Chief Risk Officer Greg Roskopf.
Good afternoon.
They will be serving as my assistants this afternoon.
That's correct.
So why are we here? A few things. One, we want to talk about regional leadership conferences. Those just wrapped up in February. We want to share with you all of the great things that were accomplished. Hopefully you were a part of one at some point, and if you weren't, hopefully we make you really jealous and have you rethinking all of your life's decisions. Secondly, we want to remind you about a few deadlines that are coming up to apply for some different roles on our staff, to apply for scholarships, and then to talk about Leadership Academy, which is also upcoming, the deadline to apply there, and what we're looking forward to this year with the 32nd Charles R. Walgreen Jr. Leadership Academy. As is typically the case with our Facebook Live videos, if you have any questions, any comments, any compliments for me specifically, please feel free to post those in the comment section. Shout out your chapter, shout out your buddy, your dog, whoever you feel is necessary and worthy of a shout out. We got a fancy schmancy iPad over there that we'll be looking at those and responding to your questions and your comments throughout the course of this video. So we'll get started here with the RLC recap. We had 881 participants at the RLCs this year. That was across all 4 locations: Jersey City, Indianapolis, Las Vegas, and Atlanta. I want to issue a sincere thank you to all of you that came to those conferences, whether you were an undergraduate, an alumnus, a VIP guest of ours, or a staff person. Our programs would obviously be nothing without the participants. They would be completely pointless for us to plan if no one showed up. So you all make those possible, and we certainly appreciated that. A few of the real highlights, for me at least, for the RLCs this year. One was the coffee and conversation. That was an added benefit that we threw in. That was a morning session that we put in with the Grand Council to give more access, to give more people an opportunity to sit down in a small setting with Grand Council members. That was a really strong workshop that we added, and I think those people who attended enjoyed themselves. Our professional development, so that was mock interviews and networking and our professional workshop, something that you don't get access to at a province forum, or you might not get access to at a conclave, or you can sit across from someone like Donnie, or someone like Greg, or someone like Chris Hansen, our venerable Grand Preakness, or Elmer Smith, who's got his name on the Southern RLC, and get a one-on-one interview setting with one of those people, or get to mix and mingle with them at a networking session and get access that you might not have had otherwise. Our general session, which I know Greg and Donnie were both very involved in sharing some honest and frank discussions about the state of our fraternity. I think that was very well received, and I certainly appreciate you guys sharing and being a part of that. I don't know if either of you wanted to add a little piece about the general session and what you talked about, but...
Yeah, I think the big takeaway from the general session is you got to be proactive. We spoke significantly about the things that we've seen over the last few months, the type of things coming in on our risk reports, the different levels of interactions we've had with universities, and where we're at today, you've got to be proactive. So we talked about the different texts and things that we go over in our programs. Stephen Covey's 7 Habits. Habit number 1 is to be proactive. So setting yourself up for success, focusing on the things that you can control, so taking that opportunity to be proactive and to look towards those groups, to network with the other folks at RLC, finding out the things that they're doing right, things that they're doing well, take advantage of those opportunities and set yourself up for success by controlling those controllables. So putting yourself in a position to be successful, and what does that look like on your campus? What does that look like for you, for your alumni, for your advisors, and putting yourself in a position where you can succeed? So for me, that was the big takeaway, along with at the end talking about the different concepts of leadership and the slow to reprove one's fault. 1, looking at what you can do as a leader. 2, is there something going on in that person's life that may be holding them back from success? And only after we look at those 2 places do we then go to the 3rd piece, and what do we have to do to hold that person accountable? So to me, that was the big highlights, along with letting people behind closed doors a little bit.
Yeah, for myself, a big piece that I talked about was asking questions. And what questions are you asking of yourself? What questions are you asking of your group? Those really can identify the direction that you're headed in. Are you asking how we can be better in academics? Are you asking how we can be better during Greek Week? Are we asking how we can recruit people in a better form and fashion? Are we asking how we can raise more dollars for St. Jude, or how we can get more alumni engagement involvement, how we can get more advisors who are working with our chapters? Those are the type of questions that we want our groups to be asking, versus what are we doing tonight? What's a social event on Friday, Saturday, Sunday? As I talked about with the guys, and I'll let all of you in, Teaks are phenomenal at throwing social events. I'm not concerned about us making sure that we continue to have successful social events. It's going to happen. So spending more time and energy asking questions on some of these other areas that require a little bit more work, require a little bit more thinking. The other area we talked about is the acronym CANI, which is constant and never-ending improvement. What are ways that your chapter, even if you're successful, because we've got a lot of successful groups out there, can continue to analyze and evaluate things that they do well and how they can be doing that at an even higher level, and things that they need to improve upon, focusing on those, analyzing the opportunities for success, getting the right people engaged, and moving forward. So we thought the general session did have a lot of tremendous feedback. Yes, we did cover some of the challenges and issues we've had with some of our group's performance, but we also were able to talk about the inspiring piece, which is that it is in our hands to continue to build back the fraternity to what we want it and build that championship culture, which was really the theme that you hammered home throughout the program season during RLCs.
Yeah, and hopefully that stuck for those of you who were a part of that. Was that building a championship culture and what you're going to do to go home and not just focus on yourself and not just focus on right now, but what you're going to do to enhance that culture in your chapter or your colony and in your campus and in your community. And everything we did at the RLC this year really tied back into that and the steps you could take to build that championship culture. Greg, the one thing you said that I loved about the general session was a look behind closed doors. You know, for all the people who think we don't share enough, my first shout out will be to all the keyboard warriors out there who believe that we're trying to hide something. If you'd have come to the RLC and seen that general session, you'd know that we put as much out there as humanly possible, and there was a lot of information shared that this year specifically, even that we've not shared in the past, and that was something that I really enjoyed getting to see you two do, because I know you take a good peppering sometimes to be able to go out there and share the things that you want to get off your chest and do so in a productive manner. So that was definitely a personal highlight of mine, was being able to include that general session, and we look forward to seeing how we can continue that on for next year's RLC. A couple other pieces just to touch on with the RLCs. The VIP slate, I thought this year was as strong as it's ever been. We had Steve Forbes in New York, Steve Forbes of the Forbes magazine notoriety. He came and spoke for a good 45 minutes to us on Friday night and shared everything.
A wealth of knowledge.
I think. Right. There was a lot there, but to get to come to an RLC for $200 and get a 45-minute keynote from Steve Forbes, I thought was phenomenal. Also in New York City was Brian Montgomery, a member of our Grand Council who's currently awaiting confirmation from the United States Senate as the director of the which one is? Sorry,
FHA.
FHA. I was gonna say FHI. Which
I thought that was part of you were adding humor into the program.
No, I legitimately forgot which vowel followed.
FHA Commissioner.
The Federal Housing Authority.
Federal Housing Authority. So Brian Montgomery came and spoke to us at lunch, and that was a really cool thing as well to hear him talk about his interactions with both of the George Bushes and all of his years in Washington, D.C. And in the White House, we had Venerable Grand Priest Chris Hansen delivered a keynote for us. We had Greg Woodson and Elmer Smith and Don Tapia, all of whom have endowed permanently one of our regional leadership conferences. They all spoke and delivered some really, really great information. So that's just another added layer of what you're getting when you attend an RLC. It's not just sit in 2 or 3 workshops and get a free lunch and then go out and see the city. It's one-on-one personal interaction with a lot of those guys that you're not going to find out, passing by on the street or run into in an airport. But by coming to an RLC, you're getting to spend that time with them. And then lastly, our alumni involvement I thought was phenomenal this year. We almost had 60 alumni attend across the 4 different sessions, which might not sound like a lot in the grand scheme of the 881 total attendees, but that was a significant success for us. And so I certainly appreciate the alumni that came out and participated and lended their talents as a facilitator or as a volunteer. That was really good to see also. The point I want to hammer home on the RLCs, and then we'll move on, is we get a lot of the RLCs are too expensive, right? We put up the pricing and we put up the website, and people say, I can't afford this. $200, $250 is too much. No one has ever come to me after an RLC and said, gosh, I paid way too much to go to this. This was just not worth my money, and it wasn't worth my time. That's never happened. So RLCs 2019 are happening. They are going to happen in February. You can put them on your calendar now and start saving, start planning. Don't wait until November, December, January to look at your calendar and look at your bank account or your special projects funds and say, gosh, it would be cool to go to the RLC, but it's just not going to work for me right now. They're happening. There's nothing that's going to happen that's going to change that. So think about what you can do to get to one and what you can do to take advantage of all of the things that we offer at the Regional Leadership Conferences, because I know the programs we put on this year were very strong, but I know they're going to be better next year, and I know they're going to be better the year after that, because we learn, we take your feedback, and we continue to press forward and get better with the RLCs.
Yeah, I think the big piece of that Alex talked about is planning. There are a lot of opportunities, whether it be school funding, whether it be special projects funds, which if you don't know what that is, reach out to a member of our team here, especially our fraternal services folks. Be happy to talk to you about the special projects funds and how those dollars can be used to get you to attend some of these conferences. But also there's a lot of ways to fundraise, and a lot of groups do it to help offset dues. You can also help do it to offset the cost of going to the program. And really the programs are built for you to get personal development. It's not just come here and learn how to be an officer, or just come here and learn about the Black Book, or just right. It's about how you develop, think, grow as a person, which is what the fraternity is all about. It's obviously also about connecting people. And giving you an opportunity. Steve Forbes speaking, I shared that right after Steve Forbes spoke. Typically when he goes and speaks, that costs $10,000 or $20,000 right there, and people were paying a couple $100 to get a 45-minute keynote from Steve Forbes. In Indianapolis, I know Major General Charles Whittington, a 2-star general, gave a leadership session. In Atlanta. He gave a leadership session for 45 minutes that everybody walked out blown away of how many people would love to go sit with a 2-star general and let him talk about leadership. So we're blessed that we have so many tremendous alumni with enormous skill sets, and that for a small amount of money you get to take advantage of that while also having the mock interviews and some of the professional development pieces. And you do have the chapter operations element. So we try to work in many different layers and facets to the program so that it is not just geared toward new members, or not just geared toward members who are getting ready to graduate and go get a job. We or people just in the middle, just the general member. We want to be able, every single person, to go and feel that they're getting value through that investment of money.
Yeah, it's important that it's for all members. It's for people, whether you've been in the fraternity for just got your bid, the week before, hop in a car, come down, and experience all ages, to the guy who's been in for 45, 50 years. There's something that you can take away. There's something that you're going to find, some gem, some bit of wisdom, some way to contribute, some way to give and to get. So you just have to show up. You have to participate, and it's like anything else in the fraternity. That's what you're going to get out of it. As we continue to do the Facebook Live here today, I just want to ask everyone to continue to comment, continue to ask questions. If there's something on your mind that we're talking about, whether it's with the program or whether it's with something else, we're here for you. Much like this program, we're going to get something out of this Facebook Live if you put something into it. So if there's a question or something on your mind, definitely put it down in those comments. Share us a comment. If you had a great time at RLC, we'd love to hear about it. If you got a way to suggest how to do something a little bit better, share this out. Hit that share button so the rest of your guys in your chapter can get on and see what we're doing, see what we're talking about, so they can participate in this as well. So we can't recreate an RLC, but we can talk about the things that we did in hopes that more people like yourself can learn about it, can attend, can participate, and get more out of our programs. They're for you. We care about your experience. That's why we give so much to it. And we want you to show up. We want you to participate. We want you to grow. We want you to contribute back to the fraternity.
Yeah, our hope is this gets you excited about either just attending the RLC or going to a future RLC, or both. And love for you also to comment about your favorite session if you did go, who was a presenter that you really enjoyed, because we're touching on just thumbnail sketch here of some of the people who presented. We also had volunteers who dedicated their time and learned the curriculum and put in energy into their sessions. There's a number of staff people who aren't in front of you right now, who invested a lot of their time to make sure people registered and attended, and they taught workshops, and they tried to connect people throughout the weekend, and they tried to get the volunteer teams working with some of their chapters and thinking about province forums, and we're always trying to think about how can we thematically build to the next opportunity to engage with our members, and that doesn't always necessarily mean it's going to be the people in front of this camera. So really grateful to the people who put in all that time and energy, because we literally cannot do it without them. And I appreciate you commenting or sharing, even if it's just doesn't necessarily have to be a question. Hey, I really enjoyed my session with XYZ presenter. That's going to mean a lot to that person to see that comment and know that that investment of time and energy was well worth it.
Yeah, and I personally want to hear your feedback, because that's how we plan 2019. That's how we come up with the workshops. We took feedback from the last few years that said we want more professional development. So what we do, we offer networking, we offer mock interviews. Feedback that said, hey, we're in these great cities, Indianapolis and Jersey City, right across the river from Manhattan, and Las Vegas. We'd really like a little more time. We're going till 9:30, 10 o'clock at night with these dinners. We'd like more time to go see the city. Okay, well, let's do a networking reception for an hour and a half where you can still get dinner and be out of there by 7:30 and go enjoy the town. That's all based on feedback that we've gotten in the past, so don't think that your feedback is falling on deaf ears. Obviously, we can't take every single suggestion that we get and put it into action, but that's what we look for, and that's how we build these programs moving forward. The next program that I want to touch on just briefly is our spring province forums, and how you can be a part of those and be involved in those. So as many of you know and probably attended, we do a large number of our province forums in the fall. Those take place really between September and the beginning of December all across the country. We miss some areas, frankly. There are areas that we just can't get to with our staff and our volunteers in the fall, and we want to give those groups love in the spring. And so those are taking place right now. We just had a 120-man province forum in
Pacific Northwest,
and
then there was
one
one
in Missouri. Yep. So 220-man province forums already this spring that a lot of people have taken advantage of. I believe there's 5 more on the books right now. And you can expect that number to be added to as we have our full staff in the office this week for conversions, and I know that's a big point of ours, is to make sure that some of those areas that might not have gotten a forum or might not have had access to a forum in the fall are getting one in the spring. Those are a little more big picture about the fraternity, about Tau Kappa Epsilon, and specifically in the spring, we're looking at how we can plan for the summer and how we can plan for the fall, for summer recruitment and fall recruitment. A lot of new officers have taken office in the last month or so, so getting the new group of officers to a spring forum and helping those guys get transitioned, bringing new members in. A lot of people are initiating their new member classes right now. And so to give them an opportunity, whether it's 5 guys or whether it's 50 guys, to come to a forum and meet with a couple people from staff and meet from some local volunteers and all the other chapters and colonies in your area, that's going to give them an experience that they're not going to have had otherwise. So certainly encourage you to check on that. It's tke.org/forum is the URL where you can go and see all the forums that are available to you in the spring, and then starting over the summer, we'll start putting them on the calendar for the fall, and you can look and see how you can get involved in those.
Yeah, I think the big point for the spring is getting those candidates, getting those new members, those guys that just joined. We're going to initiate just shy of 4,000 guys this year. We've got to create an opportunity for those guys to be introduced to the fraternity, to network, to know the guys just down the road. In Missouri, if they are Mizzou fans and they want to catch a football game or a basketball game, but they go to Rockhurst or Northwest Missouri State, 2 places where we're just starting to come back from, they need to know who those guys are at Mizzou. Right. So Tanner and Zach have to set those guys up for success so they know how to build those relationships. That's why a spring forum is crucial. You got to know the guys that are in your area. So look for those opportunities, and if there's one not happening in your area and you want to make it happen, reach out to your regional director, reach out to someone like myself or Alex or Donnie, and we'll work to help make that happen. That's what we're here for. So we want to create those opportunities where they're not happening.
Yeah. Speaking of Mizzou basketball, Michael Porter's playing today, so we got to get this thing wrapped up by about 3 o'clock.
Yeah, exactly. Fantastic.
Looking forward to that.
He's got a whole 2 minutes of playing time he's had this season.
I'd play 2 minutes and then go be the number 6 pick in the NBA draft.
Yeah, it's not a bad deal.
It's not a bad deal.
It's a heck of a payday.
I could be too. I elected to follow a career with Teak. The next thing on my list is to talk about some staff positions that are open. So we have some fraternal services positions that are open to apply for right now. The deadline for that is Monday, March 12th. So if you are interested in coming and joining our team and working for staff, I would strongly encourage that. The interview process is very thorough. We will do phone interviews. If we deem it necessary, we'll bring people in for in-person interviews. They are a lot of times 24 to 36 hour long interview processes. So it's not just come sit across from Donnie for an hour, get your interview and go home. This is, especially if you are just graduating college, regardless of if you're planning to work for Teak for 40 years or for 2 years, go ahead and get your application in, because I think the key thing is you can learn a lot from this process. Whether or not you get a job, you're going to learn, okay, here's some things that I need to do to get better at interviewing, and here's some things I need to do to get better at putting my resume together. And we want to help you with that. Much like with the RLCs, we want to help all of you be successful, not just in Teak, but in life. And so anything we can do throughout this interview process to help you do so, we want to make sure gets done. But March 12th is the deadline for that. The positions that are open are for some of our traveling staff positions, which is a really great way to leave college, I think, is to come right into an organization where you can travel across the country and meet with different campuses and see different cities and meet all sorts of different people. You can be on an RLC team. You can throw a bunch of province forums. It's a really, really great experience, even just outside of the day-to-day work that you're going to do in and of itself. I started here in 2013, still around, so obviously something is going right for me. But I think the biggest thing is just the people that you meet and the experiences you get are very much so worth you taking a couple hours and getting your application in and seeing where it leads if you're a graduating senior. I don't know, Don, if you want to add anything to that.
I think that you touched on the interview process. I think that's the piece that people are really surprised by, and we've had really positive feedback. At the very least, even if you're not selected to be on the team, you get this tremendous experience of learning how the fraternity works and being able to connect some of the dots in person, because we believe deeply that this is a family, and we give access. When you come in for an interview, you might think, I'm just going to meet with some of the executive staff members, or maybe I'm just going to meet with a regional director or associate. You're going to meet almost everyone on the entire team. If they're in town, you're going to meet them, because we want to give them access to see you, and also for you have access to meet them. And then we have a conversation with the entire team, because it is a family, and say, do we see this person working within this family, going out, making visits, making a sacrifice, the challenges that we encounter, and also the sacrifices that we have to make in terms of time and energy. Do we see that in this person, that they are willing to make some of those sacrifices to benefit all of you and to serve our members? Most times they're making far less than their market value. I can speak and basically say all of them are making far less than their market value. If we put them out in a corporate environment, a lot of them be making 2 or 3 times. We're really lucky. I don't even know if the word right is lucky. We're honored that a number of people that have come to work here in the last 3 or 4 years have left and made 2 or 3 times their value of what they were making here, because we've tried to train them and help them to evolve much quicker than if they would have left and gone to grad school. If they would have graduated and gone into an entry position at a corporate company for 2 years, they get the skill set that's far more dynamic, that after 2 years they can go and maybe get to a 5-year level, a 7-year level at that company, and escalate how quickly they're moving up that corporate ladder, because of the experience that they get here, because of some of the people that they get to meet, because of some of the experiences they get, conversations that you're just not going to get if you're starting in a company on day one, set in a cubicle and said, here's the things you're going to do for the next 6 months. You're going to go to these training courses, and then we'll get to you and start to develop you. From day one, you're a vital piece of our organization, and for all of our members out there, you're looking at that person who's been here day 1 or day 2 to help you just as much as any of us at this table. So we have to get you in a position to be ready from day one, and we're really excited about the team that we have, but I'm even further excited about the team that we're going to have, new people coming in. Just like recruitment for all of our chapters and colonies out there, bringing in new people is exciting. Bringing in new people makes you evaluate and look at your own company. What are things we do well? What are things they come in and say, well, why do you do this? And then some of us say, yeah, you're right. Why do we continue to do that? Maybe that worked 3 years ago, and it needs to be updated today. So I'm excited about the process. I'm always excited when we bring new people in. I know a lot of our volunteers and members out there, when we get new people on the team, they're excited to see what skill set is this guy going to bring, what energy is he going to bring, or her that they're going to bring to make the organization better.
Yeah. My second day on the job, I got to ride on Donnie's boat, too, so that's pretty sweet.
Let's start, the jokes, the Lamborghinis, the boats,
Here we go.
I do not own a Lamborghini or a boat.
Donnie does not have a boat.
I've tried to explain to some of our folks out there, a boat is a really horrible investment. It's just a complete waste.
I've never even considered purchasing a boat.
I have not either.
They say it's the best and worst day of a man's life.
Yeah. I simply wouldn't be able to afford it if I wanted to. So
you could probably fit a paddle boat in that little pond behind your house.
Yeah. If you had 2 children under 5, Alex, a boat would not be on your radar. It would really be more of focusing on them. So
that's reasonable. Greg, did you have something serious to add?
Renting a boat's a good way to go. I do. I think the skill set you learn from this role in time management, financial management, communications, those types of skills, when you take that along with whatever degree you have, whether it's engineering, whether it's business, whether it's fine arts, whatever you chose to major in and focus your studies in at your college or your university, when you take that and then bring all the skills that you can learn going around and traveling and working with different chapters, a diverse group of people, all types of generations from all different backgrounds, that type of skill set, when you take it, repackage it, and go out and sell it, it allows you to go almost anywhere, do almost anything. So wherever you're coming from, bringing that to the fraternity, you can double down on what you want to do in life. And just having the opportunity personally to do that, to go to grad school, it prepared me to be more worldly, more just have those opportunities in front of myself. I think it just shows how you can get more out of your fraternal experience if this is something you're looking to do. If it's just even crossed your mind that, hey, maybe I should just give this a shot, you don't know until you apply. We're going to talk about some other applications and some other things that people should be applying for so they take advantage of in the fraternity. I encourage you to do it. You don't know unless you put yourself out there. So it doesn't matter what if you're engineering, business, math, we take all kinds of guys, bring them in here, get an opportunity to work with the chapters, the alumni, different campuses. I just encourage you guys to take advantage of these opportunities, whether it's this for working or whether it's Leadership Academy applications, the scholarships, all that kind of stuff. And again, I'm just going to beat this drum. Continue to comment and share down below. Continue to get this out to other people, someone you might know that, hey, you're graduating in a couple of months. This is something that you might be interested in, or hey, you're great at traveling and you sound like a great person who knows how to solve problems, and you could really use this opportunity. So put someone's name down in the thing below that they need to see this and see some of the great things that we're doing at their fraternity. Maybe they're in education. Yep. People at our education are great for this type of role. People, all sorts of different kinds. So.
Well, and they need to jump into action this weekend as well. That deadline once again is Monday. We already have a number of people who have applied, so it is definitely going to be competitive. Mm-hmm. We don't have very many spots because we do have a team that's doing a very strong job, and they're committed and they want to continue to serve all of you. And so there really are not a lot of opportunities there. So if it's something that you're interested in or even want to start to make movement on, you need to do that right away and start to think about who are references, who are people who can give us feedback, because we are filtering through a number of people, and what is going to help you to stand out to take advantage of this opportunity.
Yeah, and some of my best friends in this organization have gone on from TK headquarters to work for very successful organizations. Kyle Erdman works for Zillow now in Seattle, and Gabe Espinosa works for Salesforce in San Francisco, and Reese Linville is being some corporate bigwig up in Chicago. Yeah. So Smith Buckland. So that is that's like a vocal exercise.
I understood it.
So that is that's you can see right there, and the list is very, very long of people who have come and worked here a couple of years and gone on and been very, very successful elsewhere in cities that are much more expensive to live in than Indianapolis.
Right, and even if you're interested in nonprofit, there's a bunch of guys that started back when I started that are now CEOs, executive directors of not-for-profits, doing great things out there, doing great things in fundraising. Back at colleges and universities.
Working at universities, absolutely.
Shout out to all the KOAs out there.
We keep touching on deadlines, a couple more that are coming up. The Sweetheart applications are due on March 15th for International Sweetheart. So if you have a very strong Sweetheart from your chapter, or if you are a Sweetheart and you're watching this, we want you to apply. We can never have too many applications for International Sweetheart. I think usually we end up with 15 to 20. Why can't that be 40 or 50? That is something that affords some other really cool opportunities. You get to come to Conclave and give a speech there. Loya Van Order, our current International Sweetheart, was with us at the RLC in Las Vegas, and a lot of guys got to meet her and interact with her and take photos, and she delivered a fantastic speech for us on Saturday night. So there's a lot of opportunities that come with being International Sweetheart, and a lot of people you get to meet, and you just become a part of this bigger Teak family on a whole different level, I think. So that's one that we definitely want to encourage, and for all of you that are out there watching as a member of a chapter or colony with a Sweetheart, you can nominate those people. You can encourage them to get their applications in, help them with their applications. Reach out to us at headquarters and ask what we're looking for, and we're happy to help with that process as well. The other one is scholarships. So these are through the TKE Educational Foundation. Deadline for those is March 15th as well. A lot of March 15ths coming at you right
Absolutely.
now. But March 15th, that is a week from today, is the scholarship application deadline. There are a lot of dollars out there for you all from very generous donors and supporters of this fraternity from 75 years ago till 3 months ago that have given and contributed so that you all can get some extra money to help with your education. You can find those applications there on our website, and I'm sure there will be a lot of social media push for those and Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, but we want those monies applied for, and it's much like when you're applying right out of high school for scholarships. You always hear how many dollars are completely untouched because people just don't take the time to apply. That's often the case with our scholarships as well. So we want to make sure that those are being filled up and that you all are sending your applications in. And again, if you have questions, just ask. Ask us, ask your regional staff, ask someone at the Educational Foundation. They're more than willing to help you get your application in. Or if you're wondering which scholarships you're eligible for, some are only eligible for certain regions or certain chapters, but there is a lot of scholarship money out there available to all of you. And then lastly, the last March 15th deadline, and really the last big point that I want to drive home, is Leadership Academy. That application deadline is coming up 1 week from today. I have some applications already. I don't have a lot, and so I really want to make sure that we're driving that point home. If you know someone who would be great for Leadership Academy, if you went to Leadership Academy a year ago or 15 years ago, comment on this feed and say, hey, I went, it was fantastic. Here's the things that I loved about Leadership Academy, and here's the reasons why I would encourage you to go. Or again, if you know someone, put their name on here. Tag them, say, hey, this guy needs to go and this guy needs to get his application in. I personally will follow up with that person and encourage them and email them and send them the link and tell them what we're looking for. But that's very, very important, and it's near and dear to my heart, and I know it is to Donnie and Greg's as well, as they have both run the program at different points in their career here at Teak. But briefly, for those who don't know what it is a 5-day leadership experience out in Colorado. It is largely focused on the individual and making you as a person a better leader and a better man, and really taking you and challenging you and pushing your boundaries and testing your limits, but you leave so much stronger than you came in. This year it's going to take place August 3rd through 7th. It is in Colorado Springs. We do have an application process, so it's not like RLCs or Conclave where you sign up and you go. As many people can apply as they want. Hopefully we have 500 applications in by this time next week. And then we have a selection team that is unrelated to this staff who goes through and scores all of the applications and ranks them in order of how they think the person did on their narrative and their resume and a few other factors. And then we as a staff get that information and use those rankings to finalize the 72 who will attend. If you are chosen to attend, you pay $150, and that includes everything for the entire week, August 3rd through August 7th. We cover your flight, we cover your lodging, we cover all of your meals. It's maybe the best deal that we offer.
It is the best deal. It's definitely the best deal
we offer. So
that's right.
$150 for round-trip flight to Colorado Springs for 15 meals, for overnight lodging, and for an experience that frankly is not something that you're going to find anywhere else in this fraternity. We bring in some of our best facilitators that we have to offer, alumni, Grand Council members, staff members. We do a lot of experiential learning. We do outdoor activities. We do a high ropes course. But really the focus is to drive home the individual and give you that training you need that's not just going to go back and help you be a better Preakness or a better hegemon, but to be a better man and to grow up and be a better husband and a better father. And that's why I love Leadership Academy so much, because we're providing those opportunities, and our participants get a chance to do something that everyone comes back from and says, that was the highlight of my TEAC experience, of my 4 years as an undergraduate. Leadership Academy was the best thing I did. So we want you to apply. We want you to be a part of it. And I'll let you guys sing the praises of Leadership Academy too, if you
Go for it, man.
I mean, there's a million reasons why it's a successful event, in my opinion. Alex's point, it's very competitive in terms of the people who want to come and present. It's very competitive in terms of the people who want to be small group leaders, which is another layer of it. You're connected with 7 other people, typically in a small group, where you have brief meetings and you discuss the teachings of the day, so to speak. You reflect on that. You reflect how it could influence you. Additionally, it really is just an intense retreat focus on you. There's not any social hours. There's not any, we're going to go out into Colorado Springs tonight. It's none of that. It's really, we're out in the mountains, and it's really about driving the best version of you. It's additionally, in my opinion, why a lot of volunteers want to be there, why a lot of staff want to be there, why a lot of us want to be there, because you're just getting all the top people in the organization coming in one room and saying, all right, for all we're going to do for 3 or 4 days is just focus on us. How can we be better as a person in every aspect of our lives? And the great thing is, if we do that, TEAC is going to benefit, our communities are going to benefit, the people around us are going to benefit. So that's the greatest driver, in my opinion. It's also it's a tremendous investment. As Alex said, it's only $150 to you, which means the fraternity is making a tremendous investment in all of the people participating. So we want you to apply, but please only apply if you want to take advantage of the opportunity and you're going to take it serious, because we have had people who come, they're not exactly sure what it is, they get baptized pretty quickly into what it is, and some of those people have turned out to be our best participants, and some of those people have turned out to go home and had a far different experience just because they weren't prepared for what it was going to entail. And there were 70 guys that were really excited to learn and grow, and 2 guys who weren't as excited. And if that's not you, this is just not going to be your flavor. This is not going to be for you. Right. So if you want to be the top developed leader that you can be, or even just find more out about yourself and how you can be the best version of you, that's what this is about. Not necessarily, to your point, just creating a bunch of guys who are going to go back and be the Preakness. That's not necessarily what we're trying to do. We're trying to develop the person at their speed, at their rate, and really challenge what that process is going to be, and stretch them far more than they probably thought was possible. And we're going to do that both through the amount of time we spend on you, but also the different types of things that we throw at you, which are all over the place. I mean, we have things that are in theory, we have things that are in actual practice to what you talked about, lessons that go back 2,000 years, 2,500 years, and lessons that go back 25 days. I mean, there's a lot of times we see something that happens. We see something that happens in current events. We work it in. We talk about it. So we try to really diversify that and enrich the experience for the participants.
Yeah, it's an excellent program, no matter where you're at in your collegiate experience, because it focuses on your magnitude and how you're able to grow, and then take this and go impact the world. And for the individuals that are out there reading or watching this today, I highly consider applying. And if it's not you, then who? Who needs to be there? Tag that person in this video. Go and have a conversation with them. If you're on the West Coast and you're in a quarter school and you missed out last year because we were in June, this is your opportunity, because we're doing it in August. This is opposite of a conclave year. Typically we would be in a conclave setting if it were an odd number year. But this year we're in August. So this is your opportunity if you're on the West Coast. So I want to see those guys apply and to be there, and they don't have to sacrifice the end of their semester. So when I take a look at it, there's in the classroom, we're learning, there's that laboratory of learning, and Frater Niles does such an excellent job of taking the texts and all the things and those pieces that we put together in the workbook, but then we go right outside, and we're outside in the elements, and you get to see Pikes Peak and I bring in that piece of arete and excellence, and it's surrounding you. And then we bring in the volunteers and all the life experience and all the people coming in and telling their story and just challenging you to open up your mind and all the possibilities that are out there. So you guys covered it. I don't know how much more I could really go into it. It's something that you have to put yourself out there, to take a little bit of risk, to challenge yourself, to truly live up to your bond. We do ritual in a cabin under candlelight. The atmosphere.
Stuff moves head.
Yeah, it's just an amazing environment for people to come in and just grow.
Yeah, you talked about living the bond. That's a big piece, is living the bond and your values. A lot of people talk about it. A lot of people say they love the fraternity. We talk about that and put a little bit of that to test, because a lot of people say they love the fraternity, aren't necessarily willing to put in the action, put in the time, sometimes invest the money to love the fraternity. And that's what's unfortunate. People say, I love the fraternity, but then they don't do the things that they say they're going to do, or they don't do the things that they got down at the altar and took a bond and said that they were going to do. And that's a big piece too that we want to challenge. Are we all living up to the things that we're supposed to be doing? And are we analyzing the people around us, how we can influence people much more than we are currently, and to give people the tools and really the confidence to do that.
Yeah, so again, who needs to be there? Is that you? Is that the guy you just initiated? Is that a frauder you've been mentoring the last couple of months? Find out who that guy is. Let's get him applied. Let's get him out there. Let's take care of that. We got a week to go.
Yeah.
Time crunch.
Yeah, I want my Leadership Academy guys commenting on this thread and saying, hey, I went last year, I went 3 years ago, I went 6 years ago. Here's what I liked about the program. Here's what changed me and made me a better leader. And then if you're thinking about it, if you're on the fence, go through and read some of those comments, and I think you'll learn a lot about what we do. The participant team also needs good basketball players, because we haven't had those in a while.
The staff basketball, yeah. The 6 a.m. staff basketball versus participants, the staff has been drubbing.
Bring your
the
Nikes,
participants.
your rec specs.
I take it this is our Q&A?
This is our Q&A.
This is our iPad cases are hard.
Yeah, well, mine's a lot different than this one.
Here, go ahead. Just hold it, says Alex Baker.
Just hold.
Off-screen.
What a great iPad holder. Just hold it.
Just hold
Got it.
Is this good? Oh, okay. What we got here? Shout out to Omicron Sigma at IU Southeast. What are the best ways to recruit at more of a commuter school?
That's a great question.
During the day. Your students are on campus during the day, and they're going home and they're going to work at night. So if you are marketing to them, if you are taking your chapter and doing things when the people aren't around, you're not playing to your strengths. So you've got to be visible when people are around to see what you're doing. One of the great things that your chapter does down at IU Southeast is utilizes the social media game very well. So go back and double down on that social media game that you guys have. Highlight some of the things that you're doing on social media, where you're going to be on campus, how you're going to be present, how you can show people, hey, this is what we're doing to get something out of the fraternity experience. But if you're trying to do things that are taking people away from work and family and jobs, you're not going to appeal to those masses. So you've got to do things when people are available. So I would look to do things during the week, Monday to Thursday, during times when people are on campus. I'd have a usual time. Tuesdays we all do lunch at this specific spot. Everyone knows that. Everyone knows this is where we're going to be. It doesn't even need to be communicated. And then filter in different things along the way from there. Have that spot where people can feel community and not have to leave at certain times. And look and make sure your schedule accurately reflects when commuter students can be there. So, and then other things, if people have cars, offer for rides. You have to provide things that people need. So look very specifically to what students want. And as it gets warmer out, excellent time to look for those 5 or 6 guys that didn't join earlier in the semester. They're going to come out of the woodwork as soon as it gets warmer out, especially for us folks up here in the north. Find those 5 or 6 guys that didn't necessarily join and get them in. You might have a second class opportunity for when people are starting to be out on campus, be on those quad areas, those most social areas. Excellent time to find some people because they're on campus. You got to go where the people are when they're on campus.
Yeah, there's 2 key words there, and you touched on one of them. One of them was community, and building a sense of community, because in a commuter school, a lot of people don't have that day and night, right? A lot of the best memories happen at late night, food runs, that type of thing. So the difference there versus here where you have to build that sense of community. And the other piece you touched a little bit on is value. What value are you creating that they want to invest that time and energy when they're on campus, or even, let's be frank, they're going to have to come back to campus more than they probably did before to be part of the fraternity events. What value are you creating that it is worth that time, more importantly, than the money? Because a lot of commuter schools, they are working jobs. They might actually have some of the income where other students don't to be a part of the organization. But what is the value of that time and energy that they don't work and don't earn money to come and be a part of that community? So I would think about value and community. You touched on a number of important aspects. You made some great points. It's
another
meeting them where they are.
Yeah, another thing to go do is ask for referrals from other student organizations, other places you can find leaders. Go to the Student Veterans Association. Who's coming off deployment that's going to be back on campus. Look for those guys that are in ROTC that already have significant amount of leadership skills and life skills that you're going to see at a commuter school that you might not see at many other places. They're going to have all those things, and they're going to be looking for that brotherhood and that opportunity to join a group of guys on campus that stand for something, and that's you. And go in there and sell that to them. Another great event, find out how you can get some coffee and some granola bars and get outside the places where people study and offer that stuff away for free, along with having a couple events that you can say, hey, this is what we're doing for people to come learn out. You got to get out of obscurity. You got to make sure people are aware of who you are. As chances are at a commuter school, people just aren't going to know who you are. You got to get out where you're highly more visible.
Thank you, Greg. Greg's got a lot of great recruitment ideas about that and about other things. Another thing we do at RLCs every year is give Greg an entire afternoon to talk recruitment with people at a breakout called Unrealistic Recruitment. So if you're looking for more of that, Regional Leadership Conference is the place to be. Next question here from Frater Matt Ekman is asking about housing. He says that they're a strong chapter, 80-man chapter, hits their KRAs, pays their bills, and they're looking for some assistance with a house, and how can they seek help from international headquarters?
Yeah, there's two different layers to this. One is obviously the financial end, and the Founders Housing Fund has been involved in guarantees on houses. What does that mean? That could mean a lease where you're leasing a property, and essentially the Founders Housing Fund can be helpful to a landlord in being comfortable taking on a new group, a new tenant into their property. And the Founders Housing Fund could be a guarantor if they feel like that's a great investment. Obviously, an 80-man group that's paying their bills on time, that is something that they're going to be excited about supporting. The other option is we have groups that do build houses, and if they're going to get into that, obviously that's a little more costly. It's a little larger risk. The Founders Housing Fund has been a little more reluctant just because they don't have a lot of resources. And if you didn't know that, the fraternity does not have nearly as much money as many of our peers do in the housing industry. We haven't had as much participation in terms of alumni donations, in terms of fundraising for that item over the years. And so they want to be very thoughtful about how can we make the largest impact with the amount of money that we have. And we've been collecting the Founders Housing Fund now for, I think, 3 years, and collecting that with 10,000, 11,000, 12,000 collegiate members, $10 a semester. You can start to do the math. We're starting to gain a little bit of capital, but if you're a guarantor on a property and it's $200,000 a year, which is what some of these leases are, you can imagine how quickly then that money's earmarked and set aside. The secondary piece, and to close that out, if you're interested, you can go to the website, or teak.org. You can learn more about the Founders Housing Fund. You can learn more about how you can get information for that. You're welcome to reach out to myself. Other members of our team can point you in the right direction if you want to learn more about that aspect of, okay, we have a property in sight. Here's how much we think it's going to cost. Here's what the landlord would like in terms of guarantees. Here's the type of support he'd like to see. Maybe even want to see some paperwork. I've seen that on our chapter's successful. Can you please reach out to the landlord and just talk to him about the success that we've had. Talk to him about how well we've been about paying our bills on time. Talk to him about essentially why we're a good tenant, someone he would be excited about to have in his property. He's going to feel like it's a good investment for him. You're obviously going to be excited now you have a chapter property. The second layer to that is a discussion about where you want to have properties, and also setting up a housing BOA, right? There's a lot of layers when you get a housing corporation. There's a lot of layers when you move into a house, and a lot of responsibilities. And this is not just in the collegiate sphere. when you graduate and you eventually get a house, there are all these things that you don't think about when you have a house that are part of owning a property and having that asset. So we're happy to walk you through that and answer questions on that. A lot of times we are going to talk to you about what local help do you have, because those are the people on the ground, those are the people who know the properties in the area, those are the people who know, do you really have the capacity to take on this venture, or is it something that you have to build 3, 4, 5, 6 years down the road? And that's something I know at times is challenging for all of us when we're in our collegiate career. Is you're told, yeah, this housing opportunity is great, you've done a lot of great work on that. That's probably going to happen in 3 years, because we just need to put aside the capital, we need to get the right property, we need to get all the things in place. That can at times be a setback, but it is part of our experience in Fraternity for Life. Sometimes we are the ones setting the trend for the people who get to enjoy it versus the person who moves right in. But there are a ton of leasing opportunities, and we have seen, especially on larger campuses, other fraternities that are make decisions and they're no longer on campus where some of those properties open up. So I'd encourage you to reach out to our team with those questions, and obviously we'll answer them as best we can or try to point you in the right direction if there are folks more locally that you should engage with on that. Yeah, it's a great question.
Yeah, absolutely. We had a question here from Ryan LaBelle, and I'm happy to take this one. It says, will you be live streaming RLC in the future so that those who are unable to attend can still have access to the information shared? So I know that started a pretty good discussion on this thread, which is great, and I appreciate those of you who have hopped in and shared the different pieces on that. I will say this, Ryan. It really largely depends on the property and on the resources we have. 2 years ago, we did have the fortune to be able to live stream the keynotes and the lunch program and the networking reception, and that was great. This year, the hotel, it really depends a lot on the hotel and if they have the ability to give us the internet access we need, and whether that's Wi-Fi or whether that's there's a lot of technical stuff that goes into doing a live broadcast that isn't just pull your phone out and do a shaky Facebook Live video. Yes, that could happen, but again, then you're relying a lot of times on Wi-Fi or on your LTE or your 4G connection. And if we're going to do something like that, we want to do it right. And I think Ray Franklin commented in here and said that we want to make these things look professional and do them to the best of our ability. So it's possible, and we will certainly share that information moving forward and do our best to push that out and make sure everyone knows, hey, we're streaming a keynote tonight from Greg Woodson at the Western RLC or whatever the case may be. But there's also a lot of variables that go into that. The other side of that, I would say, is even if you can't get to an RLC, get to a province forum, ask for a chapter visit, apply for Leadership Academy. A lot of those same lessons and a lot of those workshops that are being shared at the RLCs are also being shared in a different form at a lot of our other programs. So utilize those as well. If you don't have the money to attend an RLC, hit a province forum that's probably closer and probably less money to attend, where you're going to get a lot of those same workshops and a lot of that same information. Chris Townsend asked, what advice do you have for alumni who may not have access to this programming on how to reach out, coach, and motivate our undergraduate frauders?
Advice to alumni. I think my advice to alumni right now is you can't sit back. You can't sit back in the stands and expect guys to get things done and to understand what the fraternity is about. You've got to mix it up with them. You've got to get on their level and start talking to them about their experience. What does this mean to them? And ask the question of why they joined the fraternity, why this chapter, why these guys, and what does that mean to you as a young man, and what are you trying to get out of this? And you have to do it repeatedly and to be present in what's going on. You've got to be willing to pick up the rock and look underneath and see what's going on, and ask the tough questions of what's going on in their world. If you don't do those types of things, it's just not going to happen. One of the areas that we're looking to invest more time, effort, and money in is key leader training. And that means the GPAs and the PAs, of course, but it also means the board chairman and the chapter advisors. Absolutely. And those are the guys that are going to the chapter meetings. They're there every month, every couple of months, taking a look at the health of their chapter. And for me, to them, is they need to learn people. This is a people business. It's a relationship business. And you've got to go back to the simple things that you learned in recruitment and go in and re-recruit those guys back into how they see themselves fitting in the long-term vision of the organization, not just the handful of years they're back on campus. So my advice to alumni are to go have conversations, to sit down and ask thoughtful questions, and then through that, take those mental notes and go back to the other alumni and say, hey, this is what our guys need. This is where we should spend our time, our effort, our money, and really produce a fraternal experience that's relevant in 2018, 2019, 2020, and not try to recreate something from 1998 when I was in college, or 1980, or what other time. So really focus on what they're going through, what things that they're struggling with. So that, to me, I think is the most valuable thing to do, is just go have a conversation with someone.
Yeah, I think there's tremendous resources out there. The people on staff that are watching this, I'm sure, are going to slap their forehead because I talk about it all the time, which is YouTube has tremendous skill. If you want to learn how to be a better speaker, if you want to learn how to coach better, right, there are YouTube videos that are free that you can watch on your phone. I talk about all the time when you're driving into work, or you're driving, you've got some event you got to go to, it's an hour away. Most people are playing music instead of an opportunity where you're trapped in a car anyways, where you could put on a video and listen to it about how to be a better speaker, or a better presenter, or a better coach. Right, yeah, don't watch while you're driving. But there's all these tremendous opportunities out there that are free to take advantage of if people want to make that happen. Additionally, there are a lot of places that you can go and learn and research about some of the trends. There's the Chronicle of Higher Education. There's a lot of magazines and newsletters out there where you can learn about, just like you can learn about business trends, you can learn about college trends, you can learn about what are the challenging issues that are out there, because they're not just fraternal issues, they're student issues across the entire campus. And to make sure that you're as educated as possible. And then always I welcome a conversation with our staff. And I have seen a number of those take place. I've been lucky to be on a number of those with our volunteers, and some of those folks that I've developed relationships with know they can call me, and I will either get right back to them or answer the phone if I have the opportunity, and have that conversation as long as it takes to make sure they feel comfortable about a meeting they're going to go into, or just, hey, I'm interested in XYZ topic. Can you talk to me a little bit more about that, or a trend that you're seeing? Those are the type of conversations and connections that we want, because at the end of the day, the volunteers are out there representing the entire fraternity, and most times they are someone that have a deeper connection relationship with our students, with our collegiate members, that it's going to be even more impactful hearing it from them, from a Chris Townsend, versus someone like me, because they're there day in and day out, or week in and week out for the chapter meetings. And that's a little bit of why, we've seen friction back and forth about our office. Well, it's because we're not at every chapter meeting. We're not able to go. We don't have the dollars to be able to go visit every chapter 3 times, 4 times, right, or even twice. So those are the people that really make the organization continue to go forward at a much quicker rate and speed than we can, because they have those local roots and local connection, and they can be the ones to work along with our team to get messages through, and also to get feedback so that we're making the best decisions for our membership.
And that resource really is also the volunteers. Chris Townsend is an excellent volunteer, an excellent resource, someone that should be reached out to and spoken to about how do I navigate tough times in my chapter, and how do I go through certain things that, as far as, we don't need to get into it, Chris, but it's not a story for another time, but those types of volunteers out there that have had fraternal experiences, that have gotten into the thick of it, those are the people that we look to rely upon to build a better, stronger version of the fraternity. So I think building contacts, or you see someone on this page right here today, reach out to them, be friends with them, strike up a conversation with them today, and just say, hey, how do you guys do this? How do you guys handle a chapter meeting? How do you guys handle an MQB? How do you guys handle dues payments? How do you guys handle your chapter corporation? Right. That's going to help us get to a much better spot than just assuming someone is out there doing it better and not asking for help.
Yeah, and I just want to thank those of you who did listen to me and comment. Certainly appreciate it. Edwin Robinson summed up RLCs better than I probably ever could, so that was pretty cool to spend all this time on this and have Edwin drop that bomb. Just kidding, Edwin. Thank you for that. Greg Halloran and Mark Auclair and Louie and Yuho and Tom Gill, all of you guys, certainly appreciate the kind words and certainly appreciate you guys taking the time to comment. We did have one last question come in from Ryan LaBelle here. He says, what is Tau Kappa Epsilon doing to improve HQ transparency and communications to members at large? What does HQ do to make sure that their financial information is more readily available?
Yeah, obviously on the transparency piece, we've started to do more Facebook Lives like this to have access. There is financial information, obviously, in the T guide. It is. I will say this: there's no doubt that it is basic, and it's that way for a reason. You know, we have members elected to the Grand Council. We have members put in leadership positions to look at the finances, make sure that we are making the best decisions with the fraternity's money, with our members' money. I'll tell you this: I have a meeting at 3:00, which I don't even know if I'm late for at this point.
You are.
Okay, great. With the finance committee to review the budget for the next fiscal year, and we've gone through different versions of the budget, but it goes to a finance committee. There's members of the Grand Council on that. There's members of the TEAC Educational Foundation on that. So there's different layers of folks. There's volunteers who are just volunteers for the organization who are on that with a financial background to look and make sure we're making the right decisions. They're asking questions. They're analyzing every single expense and looking at what are the best ways that we can reinvest our members' money. That then goes to the Grand Council. Grand Council then makes a formal vote on the budget for next year, and then that's when you see the fee structure and also when we see how many dollars we have to go out and make visits, how many dollars we have to put on an RLC program. It ties in the resources. It ties together with the key result areas, the KRAs. So that financial piece, there are layers that are put out there in terms of the high level pieces for the members at large to see. But a lot of the in-depth details, that is for the board of directors, just like it would be for any company, Ryan. And that is important to know, just as with a chapter, right? They have their group of people who are putting the budget together. That is not something, at least from what I've seen, the entire chapter is looking at that. Now, maybe it's a little different. They have a little different access to that versus an organization with 220,000 members alive. But those guys do a phenomenal job. There's a lot of transparency in terms of that process that I just explained, that people can tell you, here's why we made XYZ decision. And that is something we're always comfortable to answer questions. Why are we charging a certain amount of money, and where is that money going, and how is it being reinvested into you? Always, no doubt. Is there some of it that is invested back into our staff that are out there working? Yes, no doubt. I'm never going to deny that. And I hope that people are taking advantage of that, because I know there are people having phone calls with Greg Roskopf at 10 p.m., 11 p.m. at night. I know there are people giving you calls and other people. If members just, in their experience, do not pick up the phone and reach out to us, if they don't send us emails, if they don't ask for some of the, a little bit of education or a little bit of, hey, can you help me with XYZ? That's really, they're not taking advantage of their investment. If you don't go and look at all the resources, there's resource guides all over our website of better ways to operate as a chapter, work with alumni, right? Those things are all out there for people to just go and grab onto. There's things in the maintenance module, if you're an officer and you have access to the maintenance module, all different ways that you can be better as a chapter. These tools are all right there for you to go and grasp, and that is part of the investment that you make as a member. But in terms of the staff folks, yeah, when we're having chapter visits, take advantage of those people, ask questions, build further connections. I know Jerry, who's the Preakness at Minnesota, when he came to Leadership Academy, we developed a little bit of a relationship. RLC, he came again, he spoke, and then he asked me, he had an interview for a term paper, and he said, hey, I need to interview someone, it's on Greek life, would you be willing to do that? So I stepped out, we were at the Atlanta RLC, we were at dinner, I stepped out for an hour and did an interview with him. So did that, I made this, right, I mean, I make the same salary whether I took that call or didn't take that call, but members matter, and his experience matters, and doing that for him that's an easy yes for someone who's invested in the fraternity and just wants to see how his brother, even though I'm the CEO, how his brother can be helpful to him. So I would encourage everyone out there, take advantage of the team, ask questions, and we're here to serve.
Right. And I would say, Ryan, if there's something specific you're looking for, a piece of information, reach out and we can communicate through phone, through email, whatever that is. If you have, if there's specific dollars that you're curious about and you have justification for being curious about them, we're happy to help in that regard. I know, what Donnie shared is accurate, but just check in with us. If there's something that you're dying to know or something you're dying to get behind, all of our emails are obviously public, and the phone number here at the office, and I'm sure a lot of people probably have our cell phones. People get my cell phone number all the time. I have no idea where they got it. So it's floating around out there somewhere.
It's all right.
All right. Lastly, going to close with this. I, again, appreciate all the questions, appreciate all the interactions we've had. We do have to wrap this up, but go ahead and keep commenting and keep posting and keep sharing this video. I want to drive it back to Leadership Academy and say that deadline is in a week. Who needs to be there? Who needs to go? A few people already have commented and said, hey man, watch this. You need to apply for Leadership Academy. Keep that going. If you went to Leadership Academy, why did you go? Why did you take the time to apply? And what did you get out of it? And then tag someone or tag 10 people who need to get that application in so that we can follow up with them appropriately. That's my closing thought on this, is to use this video as a jumping off point for all of our programs moving forward, but specifically because it's a week away for Leadership Academy and getting people excited about it and getting people signed up and applied for it. Don't know if you guys have any closing thoughts.
For everyone out there, have a great, safe spring break. Take care of yourselves.
Important message from the risk manager.
Wouldn't be doing my job if I wouldn't be telling everyone to make sure health and safety is a top priority, along with recruitment. Anytime we get a chance to bring someone in the fraternity, it's an awesome experience to renew the fraternity and push the whole thing forward. So, again, thank you guys for spending some time with us this afternoon. We really do care. So if you have questions, feel free to ask. I almost end every chapter meeting letting people know we don't read minds. So if you got something you want to know, reach out to myself or someone on the team. We're here to help.
Yeah. To mirror Greg's point, thank you so much for your investment of time and energy as we wrap this up. Continue to ask those questions. We talked about with the general session at the RLCs and how we talked about some of our risk incidents, and we were very open about that. To Ryan's question about financials, yes, as much as I can share with you, I'm happy to share with you and explain why decisions are made and where dollars go, because frankly, there's no reason not to share that with you, and there's so many people involved in the decisions in terms of where they go and the thought behind it, that it's not one or two people are sitting in a room making up decisions. So feel great about where the dollars are being invested. I wish that we had more resources to be able to go and invest in you. And we're going to have to continue to work with our alumni, work with people and either donating to special projects, work with people donating back to the International Fraternity, so that we can go and invest and engage with all of you. But I want to thank you for your time and energy. Hopefully this has been a great investment of your time to learn a little bit more about TKE. We're honored to serve all of you, and frauders, I love the fraternity. Thank you.